today's reading, I have a blog entry by Michael Mauboussin. The title of this blog entry is Understanding the Role of Luck in Our Lives. The video Gain Some Style, a song by the South Korean rapper PSY, surpassed 1 billion views on YouTube just months after its release. The tune had a catchy beat, and PSY breaks out some imitatable dance moves, but it is not clear why this particular song went viral. One pundit attributes the song's success to its humor and shock value, which make people want to tell others about it. But that only leaves us wondering why all artists wouldn't include those elements in their bids to create a hit. There's another more accurate explanation for the success of Gangnam Style: luck. Sure, really bad songs rarely top the charts, and not all of the most popular songs are the best ones. The fact is, if you rewound the tape of the universe and played it again, a different set of songs would take off. Although quality songs have a better chance of success, you can't anticipate which ones will be hits. And for the products that succeed, the spoils are immense. These are winner-take-most, or winner-take-all markets. This phenomenon also applies to art, books, and movies. The Mona Lisa, Harry Potter, the Star Wars. Luck, luck, and more luck. These products are all very good, but enjoyed success wildly out of proportion with any objective measure of quality. Scientists who study how this happens, how hits happen, tell us that the social processes that catapult products to the top are inherently unpredictable and create mass inequality. Most people have a difficult time accepting that super successful products are not special. The reason is that your mind is expert at creating stories to explain results after the fact. Indeed, there's a module in the left hemisphere of your brain that's so good at post hoc answers that neurologists call it the interpreter. The interpreter doesn't care about the process that led to the result. It just seeks to close the loop between cause and effect. You see an effect, come up with a plausible cause, and all's good. Here's the key. The interpreter is really bad at knowing how much the result is caused by skill and how much from luck. But in order to make good decisions, you have to know the difference. Imagine a continuum where on one end only luck determines results. Think lotteries or roulette wheels. On the other end, skill dominates, say a chess match or a running game. Most of life's most interesting activities are in the middle of these extremes, and knowing where an activity lies can provide you with insight into how to predict what will happen next. The year was 480 CE in Constantinople, capital of the eastern half of the Roman Empire. In a moment of relaxation, the Emperor Zeno was engaging in one of his favorite pastimes. He was playing the board game Tabula. Now, the Emperor had played the game perfectly, making all the right strategic moves. His position on the board was a strong one, well positioned both defensively and offensively. The Emperor was ready to crush his opponent, coasting towards an easy victory. But then, bam! With a single roll of the dice, his well-played board position was in shambles. The Emperor had made the perfect, terrible rub. Any other combination of numbers on the dice, even if it did not support advancing his strategic advantage, at least would have allowed the Emperor to throw this at least allowed the Emperor to make less harmful moves. But alas, the Emperor had thrown this highly unlikely yet perfectly disruptive roll of the dice. By the rules of the game, the Emperor was forced to move his pieces into positions that allowed his opponent to regain advantage. The Emperor went on to lose the game. The incident left an impression with the Emperor, prompting him to write an epigraph to record the incident. to contemplate on the impact of luck, good or bad, upon our lives. He recognized that sometimes luck trumps skill, not only in the games we play, but in life in general. Today we would recognize Tubola, the game enjoyed by the emperor, with a few minor adjustments, as the game of backgammon. As did the Emperor Zuno, today I would like to use the game of backgammon to model the role of luck, random events beyond our control in shaping our destinies. In particular, I hope to answer the question, why do good things happen to bad people? Now, wait a minute, some may be thinking. That's not the issue we continually struggle with. It's supposed to be, why do bad things happen to good people? Get it right, Bob. But I contend that these two questions are equivalent. Implied in the question, regardless of its form, is the belief that within the universe there is perfect karmic justice. When I do good things happen to me. When I do bad things happen to me. Therefore, when something bad has happened to me, it is because I did some bad thing. Hey, what did I do to deserve this crappy turn of events? Or even alternatively, hey, I've always played by the rules, kept my nose clean, loved my neighbor, yada, 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 and yet my dreams are still unfulfilled. When do I get mine? Both sentiments express the concept that for every action, good or bad, there is always a corresponding reaction. Good begets good, bad leads to bad. Now, a point of clarification. When someone asks this question, more commonly stated as, why do bad things happen to good people? They are usually referring to a particular type of bad thing. This question is usually reserved for some type of undesirable outcome of what insurance companies call acts of God, disease, unavoidable accidents, ill effects of weather, and other forces beyond our control. Circumstances which invoke this question can be a single catastrophic event, such as a life-threatening illness or loss of a loved one. But it can also be asked when a series of less serious but seemingly endless events create the appearance that the universe is out to get me. This question is rarely invoked if the bad thing is some type of self-inflicted pain due to some obvious bad personal choice. Jane wrecked her car because she had too much to drink. The question typically isn't even asked as long as the source of the evil deed can be clearly identified as the willful intent of some third party. Joe was fired because his boss is a jerk. We typically reserve this inquiry for some injustice that seemingly comes out of nowhere. For some, this karmic justice is doled out by some omnipotent supernatural being, a cosmic overlord who insists that everyone gets what's coming to them, if not immediately, and in the hereafter via some eternal state of punishment/reward. Some believe this karmic justice, if not doled out immediately, will surely be realized within some subsequent reincarnation of the soul, presumably by some nebulous cosmic justice reconcilement accountant. While my personal thoughts on what happens after we die are beyond today's discussion, I contend that when one asks the question, why do bad things happen to good people? The scope of their inquiry is typically concerning the here and now, this life. They're expressing a belief, whether explicitly or not, that within our lifetimes, karmic justice ensures that good guys always finish first. Justice always wins. I say nothing could be further from the truth. Not always, but sometimes the good guys lose and the bad guys finish first. The real question is, why is this so? Why isn't the correlation between behavior and life outcomes perfectly aligned? Or more succinctly, Why is justice imperfect? Now, if one's personal belief system includes some form of karmic justice that extends beyond this life, then perhaps within this belief is the answer to the question. Karmic justice is not imperfect. It just takes time, sometimes longer than this lifetime, for the justice to work its way out. All those evil people seemingly living the good life, well, they'll get their just rewards when they die, while we good guys are walking streets of gold. Problem solved, question answered. Now, perhaps this approach works for some, but I find this sense of automated justice alignment unsatisfactory for many reasons. So why do good things happen to bad people? Okay, all right, if you insist. Why do bad things happen to good people? At least within our lifetimes, why is justice imperfect? I believe clues lay in the game of backgammon. In fact, I believe answer to many of life's great questions, if one is attentive, can be found in the games we play. Now, one of the defining characteristics of all the games we play is the relative role of luck versus skill. At one end of the spectrum are the games of chance. Most of the games we associate with casinos, games as roulette, craps, that giant spinning wheel of fortune, the one with all the dollars, the bills attached, are entirely games of chance. Winning or losing is solely based on the roll of the dice, the spin of the wheel, or the draw of the card. If there is any skill or strategy involved with these games of chance, it is in knowing when to pick up the money and walk away. Other games we play are entirely based on skill, where luck has little or no impact. These games typically are the move/counter move variety, where one's next move is based on the opponent's previous moves. This includes such games as chess, checkers, and the game Go, which was recently in the news to a computer simulation breakthrough. Winning these games of skill depend on the ability to develop and execute a strategy that may involve planning several moves ahead and continually adjusting that strategy and tactics based on the opponent's moves and counter moves. But most of the games we enjoy fall somewhere in the middle of this luck versus skill spectrum. Most card games like poker, euchre, hearts, or bridge require, to a varying degree, a combination of luck and skill. To win, one must not only execute a winning strategy, but almost must have some element of good luck. As I have unfortunately lamented many times, you can't win without the cards. Well, backgammon is such a blended game, requiring fortunate rolls of the dice, along with an understanding of how to exploit these rolls into a winning strategy. Now, in the interest of time, I'll skip the intimate details of the rules of backgammon, but a high-level description is in order. Backgammon is a two-player game played on a board containing 12 triangles called points. Each player begins with 15 checkers, little small round discs, that are set up in a prescribed configuration. Each player's setup mirrored by his opponent. The objective is for each player in turn to move their checkers according to the rolls of the dice through a horseshoe pattern into their respective inner boards. Once player's checkers are all within the interboard, they are removed from the board again based on roll of the dice. The winner is the game who first so removes his checkers from the board. The conflict within the game occurs as the two players, moving their checkers in opposite directions, compete for board position. The rules of the game prohibit any of the 15 points or positions on the board to be occupied by more than one player. A position is considered safe and therefore unavailable to the opposing player when a player has more than one checker on that point. However, a point containing only one checker is vulnerable. The opposing player can land one or more of their checkers on that spot. The vulnerable checker is removed from the board. Before the player with the removed checker can make any other moves, can advance any other strategies, they must first, through an appropriate roll of the die, replace the checker onto the board. and this is generally in a position that is much further back from the position from which it was originally removed. Now, as with many games blending luck and skill, backgammon is typically played as a match, consisting of several games with the ultimate winner, the first to win a set number of individual games. While a less skilled player may win a few individual games purely based on fortunate rolls of the dice, over time, the advanced strategy of the more skilled player will typically eventually overtake the less skilled opponent's good fortune. Now, backgammon is a relatively easy game to learn with a set of simple rules. However, as with eternal games such as backgammon, mastering the strategic skills to consistently win take practice. Winning strategies for backgammon are multifaceted. One can play defensively, ensuring that one's checkers to the point possible are protected from attack. Likewise, one can move aggressively, perhaps leaving one's own position more vulnerable to attack. The aggressive move may be to attack an opponent's current vulnerability, or perhaps the strategy is to move one's checkers quickly ahead before it is too late to bypass an opponent's growing roadblocks. With the roll of the dice, a player typically has many possible moves, each advancing or not some particular strategy. Now, one fundamental skill of any game involving chance is to understand the underlying odds inherent in the game. For card games, this includes the probabilities of certain key cards coming into play. For games involving dice, this involves understanding relative probabilities of the dice rolls. It is typically impossible to play a game of backgammon without leaving a checker alone on a point, vulnerable to attack. Knowing the odds of certain rolls can allow one to leave these vulnerabilities in locations less likely for the opponent to take advantage. Likewise, understanding dice probabilities can increase the odds to take full advantage of some perceived weakness in the opponent's board position. Now, another important strategic backgammon skill developed with repetitive play is the ability to recognize at any point in the game the relative strengths and weaknesses of both one's own and the opponent's board positions. Once one learns to recognize these relative board positions, one can determine which of the various strategies is the most likely to succeed. Now, I say most likely, is each of these strategies, however appropriate for the board position, are still dependent on the upcoming rolls of the dice. As noted by the Emperor Zeno, sometimes even the perfectly executed strategy is still vulnerable to an unfortunate roll of the dice. As the saying goes, better lucky than good. Now, I contend that life has many parallels to games such as backgammon. Like backgammon, winning the game of life, whatever that may mean, requires both luck and skills. I believe that sometimes we underestimate the impact of luck in our lives. Now, someone would contend that luck has nothing to do with it. Everything that happens is part of some great plan, what our Muslim friends would call the will of Allah. Again, while I respect this viewpoint, I find this perspective troubling, especially when it is used to explain away times of difficulty and sorrow. It is all just part of God's plan, and only He, and yes, the gender is typically masculine when this perspective is invoked, only He sees all and knows all. This will eventually all make sense. If we seek a more satisfactory explanation, especially for horrific deeds that fall under those acts of God, we are warned. The ways of God are mysterious and beyond human understanding. Well, perhaps so. But I offer an alternative explanation, one I believe to be more consistent with the evidence I have gathered in my lifetime. The universe is indifferent to human concerns. Now, some may be asking, but wait, Bob, aren't humans part of the universe? Good question. Yes, we humans are stardust that has evolved to a level of complexity that supports consciousness. I believe humans, as such, possess free will. More on this later. When I say the universe is indifferent to human concerns, I refer to the mechanical machinery that drives acts of God. The Earth's crust obeys the laws of plate tectonics. Earthquakes occur according to those rules with no regard to human suffering. Disease is merely a germ's method of propagation of the species. The germ species, not ours. If a few thousand humans die during the process, well, so be it. Long live the germs. The Earth's troposphere blindly follows the laws of physics. If thermal and fluid dynamics on occasion create a hurricane or tornado, the universe is oblivious to the human devastations that follow. To borrow from a famous movie quote, the universe basically says, frankly, my dear humans, I don't give a damn. As the reality, as Jesus pointed out in today's opening words, speaking from his theistic perspective, the Heavenly Father causes the sun to shine on both the evil and the good, and sends rain on both the righteous and the unrighteous. To my way of thinking, if something bad happens to me, it may just be a case of bad luck. By the laws of probability, it had to happen to someone. That someone just fortunately was me. Likewise, with an honest, objective review of many of our greatest achievements, we may find that fortunate luck contributed, at least in some degree, in our success. After all, while one's chances are astronomically small, someone won the Powerball. Luck happens. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is not. Now, if my logic so far has not been sufficiently convincing of the important role of luck in one's life, let me ask this. There's one key element in every person's life story that significantly defines who they are. This element is 100% out of the person's control, and it determines such key elements of our being as gender, personal appearance, sexual preferences. It will significantly define one's personality and personal preferences. It will impact the opportunities for emotional and physical health, level of education, financial and overall well-being. It will influence who one calls friend versus foe, and whom one will choose as a spouse. While there is some fluidity, it is very likely to define one's political leanings and religious beliefs. This key element, the circumstances of one's birth. Where was one born? Who were the parents? What is their station in life? Certainly from the perspective of the person being born, 100% determined by chance. We don't get to pick our parents. So why do bad/good things happen to good/bad people? Because sometimes, purely by chance, things happen to people. As it relates to acts of God, there is no correlation concerning goodness or badness between the act and the victim. Justice is not a natural part of the universe, at least that cold calculated machinery that guides the earth in its orbit around the sun, or keeps that sun flooding the earth with life-giving energy that causes the rain to rise from the sea and fall on the plain. The sun shines on both the evil and the good. The rain falls on both the righteous and the unrighteous. So, Bob, one may ask, are you saying you don't believe in justice? No, I do believe in justice. But I believe that justice, along with companionship, compassion, freedom, and love, are human constructs, created by humans for our own benefit. Remember I said life is like the game of backgammon. It is not merely a game of chance. We are not destined to wander life aimlessly, tossed to and fro by the whim of some omnipotent lady luck, randomly doling out disasters and favors. We are sentient beings with the ability to act to what chance may bring to us. We have free will. It is within this realm, within our ability to make choices, where concepts such as justice, compassion, freedom, and love exist. We must learn to understand our odds and appropriately assess our strengths and weaknesses, using these skills to exploit the opportunities or protect us from the challenges the universe may present. We use our skills and make our strategies to create justice where none existed, resisting the universe's cold indifference. As with the game of backgammon, sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Justice is imperfect. But as we humans hone our skills and refine our strategies, we win more than we lose. The arc of the moral universe slowly bends towards justice. Today I will leave you perhaps with a different perspective on the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen, and good luck.